football!
Goal. Avellini, here comes Peyton. And Peyton is in for the touchdown.
Unbelievable.
Keeps it Cade. 2-on-1. Hustling back his point up. A shot. Goal! Pass retained in overtime.
Ahead of Jenks. Uribe charges throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
To the circle. Puts the shot in the air. Good! The game's over. And the Bulls have won.
The pocket, so Ferguson was on the run, and you're going to see Wilbur Marshall come here and really flatten him. Oh, boy, did he really hit him.
Looking downfield, launching downfield, going for it all! It is caught!
Here's Bernard. Feeds it back. Hazer scores! Brock Hazer in overtime! And the Hawks won it 4-3.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Superfan Network. I'm your host, AJ Nard. Today is the big day. It's the big game. It's the Super Bowl, and it should have been the Bears in. I'm kidding. We have two really good teams and a lot of great stories. So let's break it down for you really quick. It's the biggest game of the year. It's the Super Bowl. We got a rematch of Super Bowl 49, Seahawks and Patriots. It's a very, very, very interesting game. Oh, I was looking at the next date. It's very interesting because I didn't expect the Seahawks to be here, and neither did I expect the Patriots to be here. But these two teams are here, and in a short 4 hours, the game will be kicking off. Some things to look over for this Super Bowl. It's going to be quite different. It's in Santa Clara, California, Levi Stadium, home for Super Bowl 50. So 10 years later, they get Super Bowl 60. Some stats for you. It's the number 2 team in points per game, the Patriots, with 28.8, against Seattle, who's third with 28.4. So this might be an offensive shootout. Total defensive sacks, 47 for Seattle. That gives them 7th, and 35 for New England. That puts them 22nd. Total turnover differential, -3 for Seattle. That puts them 19th, and +3 for New England. That puts them at 10th. Sam Darnold, 4,048 passing yards to Drake May's 4,394. 25 touchdowns, 14 interceptions for Sam Darnold, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for Drake May. Kenneth Walker, 221 rushing attempts, 1,027 yards, 5 touchdowns. Henderson, 180 attempts, 9 touchdowns, 911 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 1,793 yards on 119 receptions and 10 touchdowns. And Stephon Diggs, 1,013 yards, 85 receptions, 4 touchdowns. I believe this is Stephon Diggs' first Super Bowl. It's also Sam Darnold's first Super Bowl. So 2 former Vikings players are now in the Super Bowl, but going up against each other. Some injuries to look out for: Bobo, Cross, Sam Darnold, Emin Jones, linebacker Jones, O-lineman Jones, Lawrence, and Love were all full participants in practice for the injury report. For the Patriots, Farmer, D lineman number 92, he is out with a hamstring injury. Landry, he was a full participant in practice, but he is out with a hamstring. Landry, he has a knee injury. He did practice, and he is questionable for tonight. Drake May is a full participant. Moses was a full participant. Munford was a full participant. And Spillane has an ankle injury. He did participate, but he is questionable for tonight. The last time these two teams played was back in 2024, before Sam Darnold, I believe, was here, and the Seahawks won 23-20. So that goes to show you. The Seahawks, in their divisional round, how did they get here? They clinched the first seed in the wild card for the NFC. They played the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round and whooped them 41-6. They then played the Rams in the conference championship and beat them 31-27. The Patriots, they had to play the wild card game. They beat the Chargers 16-3 and maybe one of the most boring. Actually, no. It's probably the second most boring playoff game this playoffs. And then in the divisional round, they beat the Texans 28-16. Then they went to the conference championship, the AFC championship, and they went to Denver. But no Bo Nix. The final score was 10-7. The most boring game ever, probably. So that is their road to getting here. They did not get the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Seahawks did. Now, it is very interesting because the playoff bracket, it's the number 1 seed versus number 2 seed. They're both 14-3. They were both 14-3 this season. And Seattle, a little bit of an easier road maybe. That Rams game was probably a bit difficult, but New England has had a much easier road when it comes to them. They play the 7-seed Chargers, the 5-seed Texans, and then Denver with no Bo Nix. So, a lot to look forward to. Sam Darnold, the biggest story is the quarterbacks and this New England team and all that. Sam Darnold, first we'll start with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was drafted 3rd overall to the Jets. And he did horrible. He was then shipped to Carolina, where he didn't really have a role in the team. He was sometimes the starter, sometimes the backup. He then went to the Vikings. He had weapons. He had a great season, and then the Vikings were like, forget you. And then he goes to Seattle, and he proves everybody why he was drafted number 3. It took him a little while to get there, but he's looking like a good quarterback. Other quarterbacks that were drafted in his draft class of 2018, Baker Mayfield to the Browns, some guy named Josh Allen, and some guy named Lamar Jackson. Yeah, you know what's crazy? Lamar and Josh have been more successful, except for they've never made it to a Super Bowl. Kind of funny how the guy that got written off for being on the Jets and his career kind of was falling apart almost, is the first one out of those 3 to make it to a Super Bowl. That's very interesting. The other story is that Seattle will be selling the team after this Super Bowl, win or lose. Since their owner died, they're trying to find someone else to pick up the mantle there. So it'll be very interesting. For New England, Drake May in his 2nd season is trying to win his first Super Bowl, and he's trying to do it, I believe, quicker. Maybe, if not the same amount of time, quicker, if not the same amount of time as Tom Brady did it. Some guy named Tom Brady. Ringing a bell. The bat for lots of football fans, they're like, oh no, not the Patriots dynasty, not again. It's all we got out of that, and we had to deal with the Mahomes dynasty, and now we're back in it. Yeah, he was a Pro Bowler, games 15, 11-3 in 2001. I want to say they won the Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2001. They did. It was, so Drake May trying to be the next Tom Brady in winning the Super Bowl in only his 2nd year. When New England played, it was a 20-17 victory against St. Louis, the St. Louis Rams. So now Drake May trying to do the same. And there's another guy who's trying to win another Super Bowl, but as a coach for the first time. Mike Vrabel is going for a Super Bowl, his first Super Bowl, and his first Super Bowl as a coach, and his first year as a coach. He was the winner of the AP Coach of the Year. Should have been Ben Johnson, in my opinion, but he did make it to the Super Bowl, so it's kind of a gimme there. First year head, it's not his first year head coach. He's not a first year head coach, but it's his first year in New England. His first year back as a head coach. He was fired by Tennessee. Didn't have a job until until this season. So it's very interesting to see that how that has progressed. He went from the Tennessee Titans. The Titans were a little promising, didn't go anywhere. He then gets fired, and then he's not on a team, and then New England's like, well, we're going to pick you up because you used to play for us. And in his first season, his team goes 14-3 with a second-year quarterback, and they might be starting the dynasty again. But only time will tell this game. Only time will tell. Other players to look out for. Smith-Njigba, he has been having an outstanding season. If the MVP didn't go to a quarterback, as it usually does, Smith-Njigba would be the guy to look out for of possibly getting that. He has had an outstanding season for Seattle, and in general, with the help of Sam Darnold, he's been one of the players that has helped Sam Darnold be and play as good as he has been. And it's very interesting to see that. It's quite impressive, actually, that if Smith-Njigba receiving 1,793 yards, 10 touchdowns. His average is 15.1. So that's kind of crazy to me. And he is the team leader. Stephon Diggs has been the team leader for New England. Only 4 touchdowns, but 85 receptions and 1,013 yards. So it's very interesting to see this. And honestly, I really didn't expect the Patriots to be here. I really didn't. Seattle a little bit. Seattle's a little bit of a shocker, but as the season went on, it's not as surprising. Let it be known that the cheap, and I want to preface this 400 section, by the way. The cheapest tickets that I can find right now, one ticket, section 408. $3,685.50. That's for one ticket, to the cheapest ticket that I've seen to this year's Super Bowl. That is quite insane. It's quite insane for those tickets. But it's the Super Bowl, and the biggest thing has happened. But let's look back at, I expected Seattle to be playing and fighting for this. New England was just an absolute out of nowhere kind of thing. First, we'll start with Seattle, with how their season went. In week 1, regular season week 1, they played San Francisco, lost 17-13. They came back week 2 and beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, 31-17. Then they crushed New Orleans, 44-13. They would then go on the road to play Arizona, where they would just beat them 23-20. They would then play Tampa Bay at home and lose 38-35. They would then go week 6 and go to Jacksonville, and they would win 20-12. They would then go week 7 and play Houston, where they would win 27-19. They would have their bye week 8. Week 9, they would play at Washington and beat them 38-14. Week 10, they dominated this time over Arizona, 44-22. They then played at the Rams, lost by 2, 21-19. They then played Tennessee and beat them 30-24 in Tennessee. They would then play the Vikings at home and absolutely wash them 26-0. They would then go to Atlanta, and they would absolutely wash them too, 37-9. And then they would go to Indianapolis and beat them 18-16. They would then go against a rematch in a very important game. They'd play the Rams at home and go into overtime and beat them 38-37. They would then go to Carolina and win 27-10, and then go to San Francisco to beat them 13-3. Then, I already mentioned them in the divisional round, wiping San Francisco, and then a close battle against Los Angeles. Now the Patriots, their season has been a little, maybe just as interesting, in my opinion. Pretty interesting season. To start, they go 0-1 and lose to the Las Vegas Raiders at home. They then beat the Dolphins and win 33-27 in Miami. Week 3, they would lose to Pittsburgh 21-14. And they are 1-2. But then the ball starts rolling. They come home and they play Carolina, beat them 42-13. They then go up. They then travel to Buffalo, beat them 23-20. They would then travel to New Orleans and beat them 25-19. They would then travel to Tennessee and win 31-13. They would then go home for 2 straight games. Play the Browns, beat them 32-13. Play the Falcons, beat them by 1 point, 24-23. They would then go to Tampa Bay and win 28-23. They would then come home to play the Jets, beat them 27-14. They would then go to Cincinnati and beat the Bengals 26-20. They would then come home and beat the Giants 33-15. And now, week 14, they get to their bye week. However, that bye week might not have been the best thing because they go and play the Bills at home and they lose 35-31. But then they pick right back up, go to Baltimore, beat them 28-24, then go to New York and beat the Jets 42-10, and then come back home and beat the Dolphins 38-10. That is back-to-back games where they only allow their opponent 10 points. But at the beginning, it's like they lose to the Raiders. The Raiders that start. They barely beat the Dolphins. They lose just barely to the Steelers. They beat the Panthers. They somehow squeak one out against the Bills. They then dominate the Saints. They then dominate the Titans, dominate the Browns, just squeak by Atlanta, beat the Buccaneers, beat the Jets, beat the Bengals, destroy the Giants, lose just barely by 4 points to Buffalo. Then they beat Baltimore. They demolish the Jets again, and then they beat Miami. It's just very, very interesting to see this, that they went from losing to the Raiders to 14-3, winning 16 of the last 17 games of their season. And now they're here at the Super Bowl. And what a time it is to be alive. What a sports world we are in. Now, you're probably wondering, who am I going to pick for the Super Bowl? I think it will be a pretty close one, my opinion. I think Seattle wins it 27-14 is my prediction for the final score. And it will be Seattle winning the game. I feel like Drake May won't be able to handle the pressure as well as Sam Darnold in Seattle, and I think Seattle will win this one. Not saying this is not because I'm not the biggest Patriots fan. I just feel like when the lights shine, who's gonna embrace them and who's gonna shy away from them. But who comes out when the lights shine the brightest? So I feel like Sam Darnold has the more experience, and I think he'll get it done, and he will get his first ever Super Bowl. And I think it will just make the story even better on Sam Darnold of going from 3rd overall pick to his career is basically in the trash to Super Bowl champion. Not an ideal route, but a pretty good one. This week, other things coming out this week. Olympics for men's hockey starts. USA women's hockey has looked pretty good, and USA in general has looked pretty good in the Olympics. A little bit of an Olympic update for you. Yes, I'm kind of going off topic now, but a little bit of an Olympic update as of right now. Norway has 3 golds, and they lead. The United States has 1 medal, has 1 gold. They have 1 medal, it's gold, and it's in alpine skiing. And they are 9th on the board. Canada has a silver. No, actually, no, that's not a silver. That's a bronze, actually, and they are 13th. So a couple in Italy has 8 medals, 1 gold, 2 silvers, 5 bronze medals. So a lot still to go for the Olympics. 12 out of 116 events have been completed. And it's really exciting that it's an interesting time for sports. The Olympics are on, football is ending, but March Madness will be starting up soon, and it's the beauty of sports and scheduling, because it's just such a beautiful schedule. It's really good. Other than that, that's all I got. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. It's gonna be a fun one. I'm AJ Neihart for Da Superfan Network, saying so long for now, and I will maybe see you after the Super Bowl. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll probably give you if I do, I'll do a Super Bowl post game and a Bears season recap, to be honest. Other than that, that's all I got. See you later. Enjoy the game.